First of all, I would say fortunate, blessed. I've had an almost perfect wife. I've got a large and growing family. I'm perfectly at ease in just spending the final years of my life, whatever they might be, or the final months, whatever, in Plains, Georgia, more close to home. I would say as far as public service is concerned, I was a champion of peace and human rights. I've sought to carve out for myself a productive and, I hope, useful and certainly a gratifying life. I've been very lucky.
How do you want to be remembered?
Well, but my family, I hope I can be remembered as a good great-grandfather and a good grandfather and a good father. By my wife, I hope I can be remembered as a good husband. But in politics, as a champion of peace and human rights, I was lucky enough to keep our country at peace for the 4 years that I served. And we were, I think, looked upon as a champion of human rights then. So that's the two things I guess politically speaking of it, I'm proud of.
You pray a lot. Do you pray for Donald Trump?
I pray that he'll be a good president and that he'll keep our country at peace and that he'll refrain from using nuclear weapons and that he will promote human rights. So yeah, I pray for him.
Yeah. How are the... Thank you for your prayers, first of all. Do you think your prayers are being answered so far?
Well, we used to have a pastor who would say, when you pray, God has three answers. One is yes, the other one is no, and the third one is you got to be kidding. So I'm not sure which one it is yet.
Oh, this is your office?
Well, this is my office. It was our garage when we first built the house.
Really?
And then when I came home from the governor's mansion, we put a brick floor in and sealed up where the cars come in. So this is where I write all my books and where I run the Carter Center. And
Scene of the crime, right there.
The scene of the crime right over there. And I have a fairly good collection of books that I'm constantly changing.
Do you multitask?
Yes. I get up quite early, like my father did, and like I've done all my life, about 5 o'clock. And I come in here and I answer my urgent email. And I read the news media. I read the New York Times and Washington Post. And read Haaretz and Jerusalem Post from Israel.
You do?
Yep. And then I work on a book or whatever I'm writing, on op-ed piece or a magazine article. And when I get tired of that, then I go out in my shop and I either build furniture or paint pictures. And so since I've been home, I've made about 100 pieces of furniture.
That's right?
Did I design myself? Yeah, this is one of my nice pieces.
This is a coffee table. It's beautiful. What's the wood?
This is a walnut. I had a walnut stump. This from here down was underneath the ground, and that was a walnut tree, and it was very rough.
Yeah.
So I decided to make the whole thing out of just hand tools that people had 300 years ago. So that's what took so long. It took me about 3 weeks to make this table, but it's one of my favorites.
You started this after the presidency?
Yes. Well, I made furniture before I was president, but I really began to work assiduously, learning how to do the finer work in woodworking after I was president.
You know, I'm thinking Winston Churchill. I'm thinking some Ted Kennedy. There were people who were in office and turned to art and painting.
Yes.
Where does that come from? Do you understand?
Well, I do it just because it relaxes me. It lets me think about something different from what I've been concerned about, like how to write a book, or how to finish a book, or how to work on the Carter Center's problems, or what to do about the Middle East peace process or healthcare in Africa. And it's like a complete different life when I walk out of here and get in my wood shop, which I also use as a painting studio. And so I either make furniture or paint pictures. And about 50 of my paintings, I would say the best ones, are in the Carter Center now, and these are kind of spillover paintings that I have here.
This back here?
Yes.
These are yours?
Yes.
It's a little Grandma Moses in the middle there.
Well, that was the first painting I did after I left the White House. And that painting is about 25 years old. It's the interior of a mountain cabin that we have up in North Georgia.
What style would you call that?
I don't know.
Well, Grandma Moses.
I'd say primitive Jimmy Carter style or something like that. First of all, I would say fortunate, blessed. I've had an almost perfect wife. I've got a large and growing family. I'm perfectly at ease in just spending the final years of my life, whatever they might be, or the final months, whatever, in Plains, Georgia, more close to home. I would say as far as public service is concerned, I was a champion of peace and human rights. I've sought to carve out for myself a productive and, I hope, useful and certainly a gratifying life. I've been very lucky. Well, Palestine distinguishes the word apartheid from Israel. I don't allege in any way that within the nation of Israel there's any element of apartheid. In the occupied territories, there is a profoundly disturbing proof of apartheid in its worst form. And I would say it's much more damaging in some ways to the Palestinians under the subjection of domination of Israel, even than the black people suffered in South Africa. So I use the word advisedly of apartheid in Palestine. I also use two other words in there. Peace is what I prefer, not apartheid. And I believe that it's entirely possible for Israel to have peace, for the Palestinians to have peace, if Israel ever adopts the policy of a majority of Israelis, and that is to swap occupied territory, which belongs to the Palestinians, in favor of having peace for themselves.
That was Jimmy Carter at his wife Rosalind's funeral, and everyone keeps asking me, why was his mouth hanging open? For those of you who don't know, I'm hospice nurse Julie. I educate about death and dying. I can't say for sure, but here's my educated guess as to why I think his mouth was hanging open. Jimmy Carter is 99 years old and on hospice, meaning someone has said he has likely less than 6 months to live. Now, he's already surpassed the 6-month mark, but he still is 99 years old and still living with some kind of terminal illness. My guess is probably cerebral vascular disease and multiple comorbidities just from being 99. You can tell he's clearly having muscle wasting and is very weak. He's in a wheelchair and he looks a little gaunt in his face. Again, all very normal for someone his age and to be on hospice. It takes a lot of muscle to keep our mouths closed. When you start getting towards the end of life and you're elderly, those muscles are really weak. You start having muscle wasting. So a lot of times people's mouths will hang open. Now, I don't think he could never close his mouth. I'm sure he can from time to time keep his mouth shut and eat, maybe soft foods only. But in general, what I saw in that video was just a lot of weakness and muscle wasting. Again, very normal for someone his age and someone on hospice. I still think he looked really handsome. What do you guys think?
Yeah! How are you, President Carter?
Fine.
It's good to meet you.
My pleasure.
What advice do you have for Trump to avoid being a one-term president?
Oh, just do a good job. Tell the truth.
One last thing.
Maybe so.
Do you prefer crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
It depends on if I'm making a sandwich, I like smooth. But just to eat, I like crunchy.
And with jelly or not?
With jelly or bananas or
Oh, wow.
pineapple or...
Sorry. Pineapple and peanut butter?
Go, buddy.
Gotta go.
Apple.
Apple and peanut butter is good. I like that. I saw that you shook hands with everybody on the aeroplane just now.
I always do that.
You always do that?
Yeah.
That's amazing. You're not worried about getting a cold or a flu or anything by shaking too many hands?
I wash my hands.
You do? That's fantastic. What event?
You said 2, 3.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. It was such an honor to talk to you.